Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode number 96, with today's guest, Robert Coorey.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
My name's Adam Franklin, and you are listening to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. This is the show for people like you and like me who love marketing on the web. I'll be taking you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments so that I can show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, this show is brought to you by mine and Toby's book, which is called Web Marketing That Works, and the special gift for you, our valued listener, is a 33 free marketing templates from the book. So you can get your hands on those at bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Today's guest is Robert Coorey, and I came across Rob, like with previous guests on the show, because his name kept coming up everywhere from people that I liked and trusted. One of them was Charlie Posneck from the Boomer Business Owner podcast. We were both, well, apparently Robert was a guest on that show, and so was I. He introduced us, and so did my friends Clint and Michelle, had both spoken highly of him. So it was fantastic to finally book a time in our calendars to have this chat. And I'd spent a couple of days beforehand reading Rob's book called Feed a Starving Crowd. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away. Often when I approach marketing books, a lot of it is stuff that I've come across before, which is good. It just reinforces that you're at there's a certain level of stuff that you should know, and even more importantly, that you should be doing. But Rob has some chapters, particularly on events and webinars and a whole bunch of other things that really opened my eyes. And I learnt a lot from the book, even as a reasonably advanced marketer myself. It was very easy to read. It was very well researched, and a good balance between Australian examples and your typical American examples. So a really big effort there from Rob. Hats off to you for producing such a good book. Of course, you can go to his website and download the ebook for free. You can also get the paperback plus ebook combo, free plus $9 shipping, and I recommend you get your hands on those. But first of all, let's listen to the show, because Robert is a #1 best-selling author of that book that I just mentioned, Feed a Starving Crowd. He is, as you will be able to tell from his accent, a fellow Aussie and a wildly successful marketer. He's done all sorts of great things with lots of different companies. We're going to cover a few of those in the interview, but I highly recommend you give him and his book a read, and let's get on with the show. My name's Adam Franklin, and I am thrilled to be joined by Robert Coorey. How are you, Rob?
Great to be here.
Mate, I have been familiar with your work for a little while, and your name's come up from various different podcasts where we've been guests on, and it's come up from a few other friends in the industry as well. And I've just been reading your book, Feed a Starving Crowd, on a plane trip yesterday, and I've got to say, that is a fantastic book. Congratulations.
Thank you. I put a lot of hard work into making it a world-class book, so I'm delighted to hear your feedback.
Yeah, and I mean, coming at it from, I guess, a fairly advanced marketing perspective, in that I've been doing it for 10 or so years, I thought, oh, maybe it'll be, quite beginner. And it covered the foundational beginner stuff. Like, beginners will get tons from it. But I was also busy writing tons of notes into Evernote and lots of things that I'll be actioning as well from it. So there's a whole bunch of different areas that I would love to dive into. But how about we start with you explaining the concept of Feed a Starving Crowd?
For sure. So I learned the phrase from a guy called Gary Halbert, who was one of the world's top copywriters. He passed away about 8 years ago now, which is a shame, but he was sensational at what he did. And he was running a marketing seminar, and he said to the students, look, if you could have any advantage in the world over me, and I could have any advantage in the world over you, and we're both selling hamburgers, all I would want is a starving crowd. And no matter what advantage you had, you wouldn't be able to beat me. And that's always resonated with me ever since learning of that story, because as I look back to all the campaigns, all the companies that I've worked for in the past, The ones where it was a starving crowd of buyers and the market was already there and hungry for what we were selling, the businesses were a lot easier and a lot more successful. And when I was trying to be creative and invent a new product or come out into the market myself with a different offering that there wasn't a starving crowd for, it was always a big uphill battle and it was really tough. That's the foundation of the book.
It's interesting, hey, because a lot of people people new to business often get scared by the fact that, oh, there's already competition in the marketplace. I'm too late. I'm too slow. There's other people with, established reputations. But it's a lot easier going into a market where there is a market as opposed to actually trying to invent a new product and trying to convince the market that there's this, solution out there that they probably don't even know that they need. A starving crowd is definitely a good place to be playing. Now, this concept applies obviously to online just as equally to offline and traditional businesses, right?
Absolutely. And the reason is because, look, I think I'm a pretty smart person and you're a really smart guy as well, but the chances are me and you aren't going to create the next Facebook. It's just probably not going to happen. I'm willing to bet on that. So what we want to do is look for precedent in the market. What's already selling in the marketplace? What are people happy to pay already? And we want to start with that as a base and then improve on that and to get a competitive advantage. But when we're trying to create a brand new market from scratch where people aren't used to paying for that, then it's a real uphill battle and we've got to educate the market on a new offering. And if you're Microsoft and you're bringing out a new Surface tablet, that's fine. They've got marketing budgets to educate the market. But for people like me and you and the people on the call, we're just not in that position to be doing that. And business is really tough if you haven't got a huge budget to educate the market on new offerings.
And if you actually look at Facebook too, all they did was take MySpace and improve on it. It's not like they created it and were the first to create it. They piggybacked off MySpace, and MySpace had piggybacked off Friendster, I think it was called, even earlier than that. So it's that same process that you're talking about, taking an existing idea or market and just getting it better and better each time. So Robert, what sort of tips have you got? Like in terms of somebody starting out a business or even introducing a new product line to an existing business, what are some of the ways you can actually go about testing to see if there is a starving crowd as opposed to wasting lots and lots of money building a product only to discover once it's too late that no one's interested?
Definitely. My strategy around this is to actually sell the product before it's even created. So if you're selling an information product or something that's online, this is really easy because you can simply run a webinar, invite all the people that you know to come along to the webinar. You don't have to spend any money on paid ads or product creation or marketing brochures or any of that stuff. You just need to run an online webinar where you tell people all about what it's all about, make an offer and see if anybody buys it. And what you'll find is that if you get some bites at the cherry and people are starting to buy it and they're asking when's it going to come out, that's a great sign because you know then that you've got a starving crowd for it. But if you run a webinar, first of all, you can't get anybody to come on, or if people come on but they're not interested in buying, then you need to refine that offer to make it work. So that's the easiest way for online products to make it happen.
Sure. And then how about offline products? Yeah, if you're building something.
Yeah, so if you're building something physical, the best way to do it is to see if you can get like a working prototype or some sort of something to show people because it's quite tangible. And then what you do is you actually just show people more of a physical face-to-face thing. Right, it's a bit more old school, but it's a lot better than building 15,000 of those things and then working out that no one wants to buy it in the end.
Yep, that's really true. Okay, so you build a tangible prototype and show a handful of people and ideally get people to actually pay money as opposed to just tell you, yeah, that's a fantastic idea, I will buy from you. It's actually, you want people actually to part with their money to demonstrate that it's a goer.
Absolutely, because no one wants to hurt your feelings. So they'll all say, yeah, that's a great idea and it sounds good. But when they actually have to pull out their wallet and then pay, that's when you know you've got an idea.
Okay, then. So once you've got the idea, whether it's an online product or an offline product, and whether it's your first or whether it's your 50th product for an existing business, what's the next part of the process?
Yeah, so the first part is to find out if there's a starving crowd in the first place. And that's how you can do that, by building the prototype or running that webinar.
Sure.
So once you've established that some people are actually happy to pay for this and to buy it, then what we need to do is what I call a main course, with the feed a starving crowd concept and keep with the food language. So the main course is when you've got what we call a funnel that can convert people. So someone can go to your website and they can come out the other end as a buyer from that first contact with your website. And once you've done that repeatedly a number of times, that's the holy grail of marketing. Then we can start looking at scaling up from there. But until you've got that to happen, then there's no point in buying ads or doing all that other stuff until you've got an offer that works on your website.
Okay, so you're making an offer on your website, and that's the first place to focus on, and making sure that the offer is actually a winner, that people are coming to your website, and if they go through what you call a funnel, like a series of emails typically to gradually educate people and take them on that journey, then eventually you put in front of them an actual offer where they can choose to buy it or not buy it. And only once that
That's right.
is a proven winner, then you go out and try and scale and get more traffic and more people into that funnel.
Absolutely. And the funnel might be really simple to start with, because when you're getting started, it might be a bit hard to write the copywriting and to get the web page design all right to make it so attractive that someone would buy it without even talking to you. So to start with, it might simply be an inquiry form on your website, or it might be a download. And you might be doing the sales offline once they've inquired online. So that's the easiest and fastest way to get started, just to offer people a consult, and then you can sell them on the phone.
Okay, great. So you sell them on the phone, they decide to buy it, hopefully, and then you try and scale this up. You mentioned copywriting earlier, and in the book you talk about how copywriting is a really powerful way to be selling to a larger group of people without necessarily having to, do the individual conversations. Can you talk us through, I guess, some of the lessons you've learned from your experience as copywriting and what we can be implementing ourselves?
Yeah, I can give you a couple of tips that aren't that well known. So firstly, if you're working in a market that's quite mass market and saturated with a lot of competitors, so if you're looking at, weight loss, fitness, business, marketing, those types of industries, what you're looking for is the element of surprise, because everybody's heard all the same claims before. We all know that, a business coach can help you grow your business. So if a business coach says, I'll help you grow your business, well, you're probably not going to click on that ad. Or if a weight loss ad says, how to lose 5 kilos, click here to find out. Like, no one cares, because we've all seen those claims so many times before. And with copywriting, where we want to get to when we're playing in competitive markets is that element of surprise and a counterintuitive claim. So for example, in the weight loss market, if you had that same ad and you said, how to lose 5 kilos, ... by eating more cake, well, that's probably going to get a lot more people to click on it, because that's not a claim that you're hearing every single day. And so what we want to try and do when we're working in competitive markets is just tweak the language ever so slightly to have different claims to what else is in the market, provided they're true, of course.
Yeah, it was always got to come from a place of authenticity and truth, but I really like that twist you put on it, a claim that they have heard before but don't necessarily trust, and then you put that second part to it that is surprising and makes them go, oh, wow, okay, I need to find out more.
Surprise.
I love it. Yeah.
Surprise is where it's at with this, because I call it curiosity marketing. And we need people to be curious about why it is that you're making this claim. And that's how you succeed in these very competitive markets. For the weight loss market, one of the world's top nutritionists came to me and we did a product launch. We had 8,000 people register for a webinar because of these strategies. In the real estate market, I've had 40,000 people that have come to live events. And that's an extremely competitive market. Every man and his dog selling real estate trading right now. So to get those results in those big competitive markets, you do need to have a bit of an edge, like a tweaked message, so that people are curious and want to find out more.
That's great. So once you've hooked them in with a great, compelling message using copywriting, which I guess often people misunderstand what copywriting is. Copywriting is writing words. So copy is a fancy word, a fancy way of saying words. It's nothing to do with the legal copyright or anything like that. It's literally writing words, and the combination or the order of the words that you put in or how you craft them is what copywriters do. And it's very often with the goal to take people on a journey from a stranger all the way through to a customer. So you've done the headline. What are then some of the tips you've got as for taking people on this journey with you through the copy?
So it depends on what you're offering. The higher the price point, what you're normally looking to do is to try and get them on the phone as fast as you can, because anything that's going to be more than $1,000 is pretty hard to sell using just straight online marketing without talking to someone. So if you're selling, high ticket services, coaching, consulting, those kind of things, if you're more of a service-based business, generally speaking, people want to have a chat to you before they're going to sign up. But I don't think anyone's going to sign up for a $30,000 coaching program after reading some copy on a website and clicking a link. Very unlikely.
That's
possible.
True. Possible, but unlikely.
But unlikely. I wouldn't bet on it. And so But if you're under $1,000, then there's a really good opportunity for you to do the majority of the selling, if not all the selling online.
Okay. So if you've got a product under $1,000, or if that's your entry-level product, you might have a $30,000 coaching program further down the track. But say you've also got a product that's under $1,000. What are some of the things that we can be doing with our writing to actually encourage or persuade people to make that investment in something that we've produced?
Yeah, generally speaking, it takes people a while to get the confidence to go and buy. So the old days of where people click an ad, opt in on a squeeze page and then, read some copy and then push buy now. Those days, I'm not saying they're gone forever, but they're less and less frequent. People generally aren't going to put out their credit card the first time they've seen you ever. Again, it can happen, but you don't want to bet on it. So what we look to do then is the follow-up sequence. And with my training course on my website, I've got an average of 9.1 visits to my website before somebody buys it.
Wow.
And I'm a pretty experienced marketer and I know what I'm doing. So if you're not as sophisticated as that, you may even need even more visits to your website before someone will take that action. But yeah, when I looked at my stats the other day, it wasn't surprising to me actually, because it just makes sense that, if someone's going to spend $1,000 on a training course, it's normally not going to be on a whim. They want to consider it, think about it, have a bit more social proof of all the different other people who've had results for that course before making that decision. So I think, if you're going to be at the higher price points, maybe between $500 and $1,000, it is going to take a few more visits to the website for people to buy your product. Now, if you want to shortcut that process and make it a bit faster, you can try a webinar, because on a webinar, people are there for an hour and they're much more attentive and they're there to listen to what you've got to offer. And you can do a sale at the end of the webinar and have those sales come in within 60 minutes of that webinar, or even a day or two after that if you've got a special deal for a 48-hour period. Yes. So there's some of the ways that you can accelerate the sales cycle by introducing that live webinar in between your email follow-up sequence.
Okay, cool. So with that 60-minute webinar, they've got the opportunity to get to know, like, and trust you because you're there, not in person literally, but you're live on the call, teaching them, delivering value, allowing them, or fast-tracking that journey for them to get to know, like, and trust you. Just to backtrack to that 9.1 times that they visit your website before they buy something from you, Robert, are they remembering to come back to your website 9 times, or have you somehow sent them more information?
Yeah, so I've got quite a sophisticated sequence. So when somebody opts in to download my book, then I actually put them through a survey and I find out what type of business owner they are. So are they small, medium, large? What kind of revenue are they doing? What's their biggest challenge right now? And then I put them into one of 3 buckets. And so each one of those buckets gets a different follow-up sequence. And based on where they're at, it's a personalized sequence. And it leads to a $1,000 sale at the end. And there's a 15-part autoresponder sequence.
There we go. Okay. So listeners, if that's very sophisticated stuff and very advanced. But the thing to remember here is that Robert has an opt-in, so a free piece of content, like a flagship piece of content, which in this case is his book, which is amazing. And then once you've opted in, so once you've provided your email address and probably your name, then Robert's got a process which he communicates with us. So if you're not quite as advanced as Robert, things you could be doing at the very minimum is having that flagship piece of content, which somebody downloads, and then it's up to you how you email those people. So Robert's is sophisticated, but as you said, 9.1 times they come back to the website. You've got to remember they're not just remembering, they haven't bookmarked Robert's site and remembered to come back 9 times. That's never going to happen. But they've opted in once because it's a very compelling offer. And then Robert takes people on the journey with his email sequence, with all the material that he delivers. And it's, advanced in that he's tailoring the content depending on what they've answered in a particular survey. But if you don't have that level, still, it's up to you to send people back to your website via email. No one's going to remember to come back. So the key message for me is to put that piece of content very visible on your website and then have a structured process whereby you communicate with people after that event. Back to you, Robert.
That's right. Yeah, and I really believe that if this feels a bit overwhelming for you and a bit too sophisticated, that's fine. So what you would do is simply offer a consult after somebody's downloaded your piece of free content. And then you have to wipe out all the email follow-ups and things like that. So like I said at the start, the easiest way to get started with all of this is actually getting on the phone and talking to people. And then as you want to scale out and do more and more numbers, then you can start to look to using technology to automate some of those processes.
Yeah, that's a good point too, hey, because what you're going to learn from those in-person discussions on the telephone, if your email sequence, the important thing is getting that email and then allowing people to book a consult with you. But what you learn from those in-person discussions really helps inform what you do later when you do try and build out that email sequence and automate things a lot more. So it's really good market research is doing those consultation calls. And from that, you then evolve and become more sophisticated with what you do. All right. So let's assume people have got their flagship content, people opt in, they've got an email autoresponder sequence, and we're using copywriting to help educate people and guide them towards purchasing. Once that system has been tested and you're onto a winner, you've got the starving crowd and they are actually buying from you. Let's look at ways that you can actually scale that up using online marketing techniques. And maybe we can look at, the content marketing side of the fence first, and then the paid advertising side of the fence as well, because I'm really keen to get your take on both sides of that fence.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we talk about content marketing to start with, the way that I view content marketing is really you posting blogs on either your own site or other people's sites and then driving traffic to that. And that content then leads back to your offer. So for example, I might write a blog post about how to find a starving crowd. And at the bottom of that blog post, there'd be a link to download my book. And then they go through my sequence after that. Now, because this is an indirect method of advertising, because a lot of people might just want to read the content and not download your book. So this is not going to be as high as a conversion rate as a direct offer to download my book. Because if I ask people to download my book, on average, it's between 40 to 65%, depending on the traffic source, of people that click on my website that downloaded my book. But if people are coming from a blog, well, it might be in the 2 to 5% mark of all the people that first read that blog. They went all the way through back to my website, then to download the book. And that's not a bad thing as such. It's just something to be aware of, that a lot of people that just want to read content. Like I read blogs every day, but I don't always go to click on the author's name and click on their link and follow that through all the way to the end. It just doesn't happen, even if it's a good article. So it's not always a guaranteed winner to just write content and hope that people come back to your site. Not at all. But in saying that, the good thing about content marketing is you get scale and you get reach. So if I just ran ads all day, every day, telling people to come to my website to download my book, well, it's going to get pretty expensive after a while. But with content marketing, you can spread your message a lot wider and you can have a much bigger readership of what you're doing, so you can get bigger scale of numbers, albeit at a lower conversion rate.
Gotcha. Okay. And one other good thing that I recommend to people is, one explanation I give to people is that once you've written a piece of content for your blog or for somebody else's blog, it stays there forever, right? So that blog that I wrote today is going to be there next week, next month, and next year. But if you're buying ads, you've got to be aware that, yes, it can get expensive, but two, once somebody clicks on that ad, you've got to pay Google or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever more money to keep that traffic flowing. So the content side of things is a sustainable, ongoing asset that you're building, even if it doesn't necessarily convert as highly as a direct response advert on Facebook or something, but it's worth just being aware of the two sides of the fence. And if you're fairly new and you haven't yet got that offer that's converting or that's a definite winner each time, I guess my personal take is to focus more on the content marketing and build up your authority and begin to be teaching people what you know, and fine-tune that sales funnel, fine-tune that offer, so that you know that when that does start to convert and it does start to work really well, you've got this huge opportunity to scale what you're doing through the paid side of things. I would just caution people, if they're quite new, it can be quite expensive and dangerous heading into ads too early. But once you've got the funnel and once you have an offer that sells, then you can really crank things up.
Yeah, definitely, because you'll get sick of paying for ads pretty fast if they're not converting. That's not going to happen for too long. So that's why I always say you get your offer right. You find the starving crowd, then you move to main course, and then you move to dessert after that. And dessert is when you're starting to pay for advertising to hit your website and to start hitting your offers. Nice.
Now, just a quick question. If you're sending traffic to your website, are there any things we need to know about, like from a Facebook ad, or can you send people to an opt-in squeeze page, or have you got to send them to a content-rich site? Are there any sort of things we need to be aware of there, at least in the current state of affairs?
Yeah, look, the information will probably date tomorrow, unfortunately, whatever we say today. But as of today, generally speaking, that's the best practice for today. Now, in saying that, there's always exceptions to the rule. So I've been able to successfully, even to today, send traffic directly to my book download page without any issues on Facebook. And that's really good for me because it gives me the lowest cost per opt-in. But in saying that, generally speaking, like if you want a more sustainable campaign that you want to last for longer, you're probably best off sending it to like a pre-article landing page that has content on there rather than just straight to your offer. Okay, so if you send people to a content page, would you then sprinkle your offer throughout that piece of content, or would you have like a call to action at the end? What? Definitely. Okay. Yeah, so you want to have your offer in a couple of different places on that page. So if it's your blog, you can have like a header banner that has it, or a hello bar that has your offer, or a right sidebar banner, and definitely an offer within the copy itself. Okay. Now, another way that you talk about in the book, another way to scale is forming joint venture relationships or finding affiliates. Can you talk about how to go about forming those relationships and why they're so valuable? Yeah, look, I've been really successful with affiliates and partners and things like that through my career. And the reason is this. You've got to put yourself in the other person's shoes. So everybody always thinks, oh, how can I get people to sell my stuff? Yeah, that's number one question I get with affiliate marketing. How can other people sell my stuff? Okay, well, if you think about it logically, if you were in that person's shoes, so if you were an affiliate that had a really good database and a good Facebook list and things like that, you're going to guard that with your life because you've worked so hard to build that up. And it's your livelihood. Absolutely. Now, but on the flip side, people with large databases like myself, we still want to monetize that database. We're running a business. So we are happy to send out offers for partners and affiliates and things like that. No problem at all. But the thing is, if you put yourself in someone like my shoes, like that gets approached all the time with affiliate potential deals, well, the first thing I want to know is the product any good? Because by making an affiliate offer to my database, I'm endorsing that product. I'm saying, yes, Jim's a good person and Jim's got a great product. You should go check it out. Now, if I make a mistake with choosing a product that's not good and my customers have a bad experience, I've completely ruined my trust with my audience. And then that makes it nowhere near as effective as the future when I want to make another promotion, because I'll say, oh, Rob just sends crap to us. Rob just sends stuff that's not good. So I've learned a few lessons along the way, and I personally want to check out every single product before I'll endorse it to my audience. So I'll ask for a login and I want to check it out, and I'll ask for testimonials and other people they've done things with before, just so I know they're a trustworthy person and it's a good product that I'd like to use for myself. That's my process before I want to take on an affiliate. Now, if you're a new person, you've got no list and you've got a new product and you want to get it out there through affiliates, well, my advice is to firstly make sure it's good. Are you happy with it? Are your customers happy with it? Do you get a good conversion rate if you run a webinar? Do people go to your site and they buy it? And the biggest thing is, are the customers happy? Because as long as there's a low refund rate and the customers are happy, you can always find someone that will be happy to give you a chance. Like, for example, next week, I'm running a webinar for my audience where I'm bringing in a business coach. Now, this business coach is extremely switched on, a real good operator, has a fantastic service, normally works with really high-end clients, and has never done like an affiliate webinar before. So he hasn't got a proven conversion rate, none of that stuff. But I know the info is good and I know he does a good service. And so that's why I'm happy to, even though he's an untested and unproven webinar presenter, so we've got no idea how this is going to convert. I've worked with him before. I know he does a good service. I'm happy to support him by doing that. So my message is, as long as the product is really good or the service you're offering is really good and trustworthy and your customers are happy with it, you can always find someone within your internal network that would be happy to be an affiliate for you. To give you a go and to, give you that first shot. And then if it works, you can do it again and sort of refine it and improve it as you go. Yeah, because it's like the domino effect. Once you've got one or two people on board that you've done webinars for, their audience, then to new prospective affiliate partners to say, you know what, I was just on Rob's list last week and we spoke to 1,000 people and it went really well. Here's the results. And, Rob was really happy with it. His audience loved it. So can we do one for your audience? And you just go around like that. That's the easiest way to do it. That's a great way to actually fast track the list growth and reputation in the industry.
I've certainly found anyway, yes, blogging and everything is fantastic, but I found webinars, once you can demonstrate your knowledge and teach people great stuff and also make an offer at the end that converts well, then all of a sudden, instead of just your own small or non-existent list, you can be exposed to, thousands and thousands of people through these through these joint venture partners.
Yeah.
Really good
and the
tip.
thing is, you can't rely on affiliates to grow your business. So the way that I see it is the affiliates is like the icing on the cake. The actual cake is your own offer with your own traffic, because you need to be in control of your own destiny. And if affiliates want to promote you and you can do business like that, that's great. And that can be a percentage of your business. But the bulk of it has to be from your own traffic generation sources.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now, just before we call it a day, Rob, let's just quickly talk about social media. In my book, anyway, I say, you can sell on social. It's often inappropriate. I draw the analogy. It's like going to, say, a birthday party and meeting somebody there and saying, oh, can I get you to, buy your insurance off me right now? Whereas I actually say it's great for meeting people. Let's connect, swap details, and I'll give you a call next week. We can come into the office and we can close the deal. I sort of draw a line and say that socials, just that social interaction, and then you come back to the website or the email to close the commercial side of things. Now, I know you're a big advocate of selling on social. Can you sort of talk us through your philosophy and your stance on it?
Yeah, look, I think that social is a great place to do selling. Now, in the right context, as you said. So I think it's great for running ads, because you got to think about, when you're running ads, where are people most of the time? Well, today, most people are using Facebook all day. That's just the way the world works. And so it makes sense to advertise where people are at right now, if you just think about it logically. Like, if people are spending a lot of the time using Facebook, well, put your ads on Facebook.
Totally.
And then so if you're just on your own personal page or your fan page or you're posting in groups, then you need to be a bit more careful about how you approach it. But do remember, at the end of the day, you're a business. Like, if you just hang around and engage and join the conversation and all that kind of fun stuff, yeah, you might get a client here and there, but you're running a business. It's great to make friends in your personal life and to network and to have fun like that. That's great. But as a business strategy, we need to always come back and focus on, is this helping us get business? Like, by you chatting in 10 different Facebook groups, is that helping you get business? And if it is, great, keep doing it. And if it's not, well, it might not be the best use of your time.
Yeah. But so you're actually saying, if you're, so back, I guess to loop it back to what you said at the start, if you're running ads on Facebook, then you're directing them to your website, right? And then they're going into that lead nurturing process. So yeah, where I'm at is that's great. And also, if you're putting links to, say, if you're posting a link to as a status update on LinkedIn or on Facebook, or telling a group that you're a member of about, say, Robert's book, then what you're actually doing is going from social, which is the socializing part, to the website. And then that sale and that lead nurturing process is taking place on Robert's website and on Robert's email list. So to me, I agree that social is a great place, but the actual transaction isn't taking place on social, at least for the most part. So I think we're in agreement on that you can start on Facebook, but then you take it to a separate place, which is more your home base, your website or your email list. Is that fair in saying that?
Absolutely, agreed. In saying that, though, like, as we said, there's always exceptions to the rule.
Yes, let's talk about some exceptions. I love these stories about people that actually sell really well on Facebook.
I've done business through Facebook chat. It's really funny. People ask me, what does it cost to get a day with you, Rob? I was typing a price, and quite often I'll just say, yep, okay, let's do it. And so it can happen that way. Like, if you're in a private chat with someone and it's turned into a conversation about business, well, then they've given you permission to start talking business.
Absolutely.
And that's totally okay. So absolutely, you can sell on Facebook, you can sell on LinkedIn, you can sell on the other channels. But like you said, it is advisable, if it's possible, to take it offline and to talk that way.
Cool. And so just in that case as well, I guess, at the end of the day, if people are communicating with one another, it doesn't matter if it's through Facebook or WhatsApp or email or in person or whatever. Like, if people are asking about your business and want to engage with you and talk about commercial arrangements, then of course it doesn't matter if they're asking you on Twitter via a message or via Facebook, but absolutely use whatever communication channel your customers want to use. Yeah, by all means, don't. Don't, just because I've said in the book, you shouldn't sell on Facebook. If people actually on whatever, if people want to find out more information and want to know your price and want to close the deal, absolutely. I guess my point is don't be that person that just uses it to put offers in front of people all the time. Realize that it is social, and you wouldn't just go up to somebody at a social event and start giving them a sales pitch. You typically introduce yourself and ask questions, but know that it's a fantastic entry point into your funnel, and know that it's a fantastic place to form human relationships. And it's those human relationships that obviously lead to sales, and the actual mechanism by which you chat and have that conversation. Doesn't matter which platform it is, but yeah, really, really cool. I think we're totally on the same page there, Robert. I appreciate your insights there. Now, I could chat to you all day about all this stuff, but we have come to the end of the show. So just before we wrap up, is there any closing words of wisdom or any final pieces of advice or anything you want to get off your chest before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake I'm finding people making is not actually going after that starving crowd. So if you put the time in at the start to make sure that it is actually a starving crowd, that's what works the best.
Awesome. Great tips there, because, I mean, you can optimize your Google ads, you can optimize your landing pages, you can optimize, words in a headline. But if you don't have that offer and you don't have that you don't have the starving crowd to make offers to, and the right offers, then, you can optimize, red versus green versus blue versus whatever calls to action on whatever landing pages, but it's going to be meaningless if you don't have that starving crowd and a good offer to give them. So, no, that's a really good note to end on there, Robert. And how can people find out more about you and to ideally get their hands on your fantastic book?
Yeah, we've got a free copy of the book available on the website. So it's feedastarvingcrowd.com, and all my contact details are there as well.
Wonderful. Well, I highly recommend it, whether you're a beginner or more advanced. Tons and tons of great information. We've only scratched the surface of what we've covered on today's interview. But Robert, fantastic chatting with you, and thanks so much for joining me on the show.
You're welcome.
All right. Wow, what a show. I honestly could have kept chatting to Robert for for another couple of hours. We don't just scratch the surface of some of the stuff that was in his book, Feed a Starving Crowd. He's obviously very wise with his marketing strategies and techniques, and a lot that I learnt from him and want to continue learning from him. So I'm sure you'll be hearing more from both of us very soon. Wow, a couple of takeaways. Firstly, I guess on the copywriting front, really understanding the way to assemble copy and the way to think about it from that very first part where you write that headline to have the goal of actually having people then read the rest of your message. And, depending on how much your sale price is and how much commitment you want them to take, I guess, depends on how much copy and how long you explain things for. So that was really fascinating. And also that sales email funnel sequence. So that sequence of emails that you send once somebody opts into some of your material. So downloading what I call flagship content, which is also often referred to as a lead magnet. When people download that, then setting up that process or that sequence of steps that guides people to the endpoint, or one of the endpoints, which is to make a purchase from you. And then, of course, there's more steps after that as people continue to buy products and services from you. Robert actually had quite a sophisticated one with 15 or 18 steps in his survey funnel once people opt in. He's very advanced, but the moral of the story is be getting people onto your email list and then educating them, nurturing them, giving them what they came for, and gradually teaching them more so that the right people want to do business with you. Okay, I'll leave it there on Rob. As always, this show is about delivering actionable advice. Rob had plenty there. If you've got feedback or questions or just want to say hello, please drop me a line at adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au or tweet me at franklin_adam. And if you want to get your hands on the 33 free marketing templates from mine and Toby's book called Web Marketing That Works, please head over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book. And to get your hands on Robert's book, Feed a Starving Crowd, please head to his website, feedastarvingcrowd.com. Thank you for listening through to the end. If you've liked the show, and I hope you did, I would love it if you could leave us an iTunes review. It helps our visibility and it helps us get more guests like Rob onto the show. so that they can share their marketing wisdom with both you and me. Take care, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye.